Hello and welcome back to Eurofootball Daily, where today we're combing through football history to find 10 players who were bigger than their club. From current stars to past icons, these footballers dragged their teams to glory, or in some cases, were dragged down by them. Let's kick it off. 10. Jack Grealish. We start in the Premier League at Aston Villa. The Villains endured a nail-biting 1920 season, simultaneously proving their fans right in the claim that Jack Grealish was a star, and the critics who poured scorn on their £143 million transfer outlay last summer. Despite buying 13 players in 2019, the Midlands side struggled all season, allowing 67 goals, the second worst record in the Premier League, and avoiding relegation on the final day with a draw at West Ham. Appropriately, it was a strike from Grealish which secured the point, and across the year the Englishman contributed 8 goals and 6 assists, topping the squad in both categories. But even that downplays his importance. Grealish was not only the difference maker in the final third, but was integral in getting Villa up the field, leading his side in dribbles and getting fouled 167 times, more than anyone else in the Premier League. As a consequence, only City and Liverpool scored more set-piece goals than Villa's 15. Retaining Premier League status means Villa can probably keep their stars for now, but another season like this, at 25 years old, is sure to see Grealish dream of better things. 9. Francesco Totti. Picture a Roma kit, and you'll probably automatically picture Totti in it. The Italian, who only ever wore the shirts of Roma and Italy, was born in the capital and spent 25 years in the first team, retiring in 2017 as the player with the most goals and appearances for the Giallorossi. If it hadn't been for the 2006 World Cup, Totti might have left the game with a list of honours totally unworthy of his greatness. He won only 1 title and 5 trophies in total at the Stadio Olimpico, 2 of them the Italian Community Shield. And though he played with stars like Cafu and De Rossi, the club somehow always fell short, even in the 2006-07 campaign when, despite Totti finishing as both top scorer and top assister in Serie A, they still finished second, 22 points behind Inter. Nonetheless, Totti refused repeated offers from Real Madrid and always put his needs behind those of the team, switching positions from left wing in his youth to number 10 to striker and even central midfield in his twilight years. He hit double figures in the league 9 years in a row and finally left the squad at the age of 40, having left an eternal mark on the eternal city. 8. Steven Gerrard. Given that Liverpool have 19 titles and Steven Gerrard has none, it's hard to argue that the Englishman looms larger in the game than the side he represented for 17 years. But during that period, Liverpool's average finish was 5th, and they were only seriously involved in the title race 3 times, 2 of those 3 coming in Gerrard's best scoring seasons, with 16 goals in 2009 and 13 in 2014. Put simply, Gerrard kept the club relevant, with 8 appearances in the Premier League Team of the Year during his time at Anfield. The Reds were so reliant on him that he finished as the club's top scorer 3 times. And while other elite midfielders of the period played with attacking stars like Henry, Rooney, Ronaldo and Drogba, Gerrard was often surrounded by subpar forwards, with only Torres and Suarez hitting over 20 league goals for Liverpool between 2003 and Gerrard's departure in 2015. Capable of dragging Liverpool to glory through sheer determination, as shown when he scored and won a penalty in the 2005 Champions League final, Gerrard stopped Liverpool sinking fully into mid-table. Without him, the club might have become another fallen giant, and never attracted Jurgen Klopp. Before we move on to our next section, make sure if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a brilliant EFD video. 7. Jan Oblak. As good as Atletico Madrid have been in the Simeone era, the club can only really claim to have 2 or 3 world-class players in that time, and while Godin and Griezmann have moved on to bigger paychecks, there is one superstar left in the side. Jan Oblak was signed in 2014 after Thibaut Courtois returned to Chelsea, with the Rocky Blancos spending €16 million on him, then a Spanish record for a keeper. 6 years later, an Oblak's release clause of €110 million looks reasonable. While Atleti have a great defence, conceding just 123 goals in 190 league matches over the last 5 campaigns, the Slovenian is still stopping shots at an exceptional rate, with an XG suggesting that the club should have allowed around 45 more goals than they have in that period. He's been named La Liga's best keeper 4 times and the Champions League's best twice, and according to Transfermarkt is among the world's 20 most valuable players, the only stopper in the group. While other sides fear losing a star striker or midfielder, Atletico are the only team in the world so dependent on their keeper. Another season of mediocrity and they may have to face another painful goodbye. 6. Zlatan Ibrahimovic. PSG are now among Europe's top sides, and this is largely attributed to one man. Yes, the club have spent huge sums of Qatari money after they were bought out in 2011, but while they routinely overpaid for middling talents like Pastore and Lavezzi, they got one big one right, shelling out £60 million in 2012 to bring in AC Milan's Thiago Silva and Zlatan Ibrahimovic to Paris. It was intended to show that PSG could compete with the continent's elite, and the Swedes' form made a compelling argument. Fresh from winning Serie A's top scorer award for a second time, Zlatan hit 30 in 2012-13 to bring the Parisians their first title in 19 years, and he would net a further 121 in the next 3 seasons to become temporarily the top scorer in the club's history. Across his spells in France, he was involved in a goal every 68 minutes and won 12 trophies, meaning that by the time he left in 2016, he had a hand in 40% of the silverware in PSG's cabinet. Zlatan was nominated for the Ballon d'Or in all 4 campaigns and brought his personal tally to 11 league titles, 2 more than PSG as a club. And crucially, Zlatan made it possible for them to sign Neymar and Mbappe, making him not one of the great figures of PSG's past, but ultimately the man who defined their future. 5. Matt Le Tissier. In recent years, the Saints have remade themselves as one of Europe's best-selling clubs, making fortunes on players like Sadio Mane, Luke Shaw and Virgil van Dijk. But in the 90s, they were notable for their ability to keep one genuine star on the south coast, Matt Le Tissier, who made 540 appearances for the club, earning himself the nickname Le God. Le Tiss was coveted by every big team in the country, and with good reason. Though an attacking midfielder, he routinely hit over 20 goals in the league, and in his best period, between 1992 and 1995, only Les Ferdinand and Alan Shearer netted more than his 60 goals in the Prem. Remarkable on a team which avoided relegation by a single point in 2 of those 3 campaigns. In fact, the Saints stayed on the top flight by 1 point or on goal difference 4 times in the 90s, and in those 4 seasons, Le Tiss got into double figures 3 times and contributed 48% of the club's goals, leading Chelsea to make a then English record £10 million bid for him. Instead, the midfielder chose to stay loyal, and wrote his name into Southampton folklore. 4. Robin van Persie. As good as players like Cazorla, Koscielny and Sanchez were for Arsenal, the Gunners have arguably just had 2 footballers in the Emirates era who were the best in the world in their position, Cesc Fabregas and Robin van Persie. The Dutch joined Wenger's side in 2004, but for the first 5 years remained a talented prospect, with injuries and positional changes seeing him score an average of 8 goals a season in that time. But while fans lamented the talent drain which saw Henry, Toure, Adebayor and Hleb leave the club, Arsenal continued to finish in the top 4, as Van Persie transformed into a superstar. From 2009 to 2012, when he left North London, the striker scored and assisted 80 goals in 79 Premier League appearances, despite the departure of Fabregas, but still couldn't drag the Gunners to a trophy. Eventually, he ran down his contract and reluctantly announced his intentions to leave, citing the club's lack of investment as a sign that their ambitions didn't match his. Courted by Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus and Man City, RVP joined Manchester United for £24 million and won the title his career deserved. Arsenal watched his success from 4th. 3. Lionel Messi. At the start of Messi's career, it was unthinkable that anyone, let alone a 5'7" greasy-haired teenager, could be bigger than Barcelona. The Blaugrana not only dominated European competition, they transcended club football, forming the centre of the Spanish side which won a World Cup, and stars like Xavi, Alves and Iniesta made a mockery of any suggestion that Barca were a one-man team. A decade on and the joke is no longer funny. In the last 3 seasons, Messi has been both the top scorer and assister in La Liga, and has been involved in 53% of Barca's league goals since 2018, while the club has registered their least prolific campaigns since 2008, before Guardiola arrived. In the big games he's even more important, netting or creating 10 of Barca's last 16 goals in the Champions League knockouts, but his power extends beyond the pitch. The club sought Messi's approval before hiring Tata Martino in 2013, and Luis Enrique was publicly humiliated by the star in 2014 when he refused to be substituted against Eibar. Even after Enrique won the treble, he had to do as Messi said, the forward once demanding that Andre Gomez be benched after a string of bad performances. Arguably, the Argentinian is richer than the club, making €107 million in 2019, while Barca turned a profit of just 17 million. And his contract allows him to leave for free whenever he wants. In the end, it seems that it's little Leo who is really Mescan club. 2. Gabriel Batistuta. Most mid-table Italian clubs don't inspire the same affection and nostalgia in the average football fan as Fiorentina, but most clubs never had Gabriel Batistuta. The Argentinian spent 9 years with the Viola between 1991 and 2000, and alongside Rui Costa made the purple kit one of the defining images of the era, as well as dominating on the international scene with 54 goals in 77 games for his country. But the club never quite matched up to his star, with their only major trophy in that period the 1996 Coppa Italia. In fact, they managed to get relegated in 1993 despite Batistuta netting 16 times in the league. But his brilliance not only helped them return to Serie A immediately, but got them to the Champions League within 5 years, while he came in third for the Ballon d'Or in 1999 while playing for a team which only finished third. Between 1994 and 2000 he averaged an incredible 25 goals a year, and Roma paid €36 million for him, then a record for a player over 30. He would go on to win Serie A in 2001, netting over 20 in the league for the 4th year running, while Fiorentina went bankrupt and were relegated 12 months later. 1. Alan Shearer. When Newcastle broke the world transfer record for Alan Shearer in 1996, it was expected to usher in a new era of success. The Magpies had just finished second to Manchester United, but though they would match that finish in Shearer's first season after the £15 million move, it quickly became clear that the English striker was far too good for the club he supported as a boy. Despite Shearer's presence, Newcastle finished outside the top half of the table in 5 of his 10 years on Tyneside, and when injury limited him to just 2 Prem goals in 1997-8, his importance became obvious, with the club falling from 73 goals scored in the previous campaign to just 35. The second lowest tally in the division. He was still the club's top scorer in all competitions that year, and in fact he was their top scorer every year, netting 27% of all Newcastle goals between 1996 and 2006. When he retired at the age of 36, he still had managed to hit double figures in league play the previous campaign, and within 3 seasons of his departure, Newcastle were relegated. They remain a mid-table side, while Shearer remains the greatest goalscorer in Premier League history. So that was 10 players bigger than their club. Did you agree? Did we miss anyone out? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe and comment, and we'll see you next time.